Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, I got a pretty good one. So the topic is ranking the best players in the NBA from 1 to 10 in the NBA in 2021, 2022. So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, make sure you go ahead and check out Dreamerspro Max, an online sports community, place where you can go and start basketball discussions, chat live during games, and so many other cool things. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check that out. We have that linked in the description below, and also make sure you go ahead and join the channel. Anyway, so let me get into this topic here. So first of all, a few things I want to say before we get into this topic, because I know some people, not all, but some, are going to disagree with this list, which is totally fine. So let me just say a few things. First of all, this is our list here, Dreamerspro. This is our list and how we see it. Secondly, this is not a random list. I didn't just pick these names out of a hat and said, okay, let's throw these names up on the board. I actually thought about the reason for ranking these guys, why I ranked them, and we put some sense into this thing. So we didn't just wake up and say, okay, how are we going to troll people today? So, that wasn't the idea. Another thing worth saying is that in order for you to make it on this list, you have to be an all-NBA player. We're taking that into consideration. You have to have made at least one all-NBA team, not multiple, at least one. You have to have some type of playoff history, and you have to have your track record is being taken into consideration, right? So have you been able to sustain a level of excellence over time? That's one of them. Have you been able to at least make one all-NBA team in your career? That's another thing. And overall, your track record in the playoffs, that's another thing that's going to be taken into consideration here. So let's get the list started. And first of all, before I start, the top 1, 2, or 3, I think most people are going to agree on the top 3, but this is just my order. So the number one player, ranking the number one player in the NBA. And actually, you know what? Let's go from the 10 up. Actually, let's make it more interesting. So at number 10, let's make it a little more interesting. We're going to go from 10 to 1. So at number 10, I have. Number 10, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Number 10, I have Paul George. I'm ranking Paul George as the 10th best player in the NBA. Obviously, Paul George is a multiple-time All-NBA player. He's made some All-Defensive teams. I think he's led the league in steals not once. I think he led the league in steals once, if I'm not mistaken. But Paul George is a hell of a player. Let's just be honest. You saw him really take his game to another level this year in the playoffs. In the regular season, he averaged 23.3 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, and 5.2 assists. But in the playoffs, he was averaging around 27 points per game, shooting over 40% from the field, 30+% from the three-point line, 33% from the three-point line, 84% from the free throw line, getting you 9.6 rebounds and 5.2 assists and over 1 steal a game. But Paul George really stepped up when Kawhi Leonard went down. Like, he really helped his team. Remember, Kawhi Leonard went down after game, 4 against the Utah Jazz, right? It was game 4. That series was tied, and then Paul George led that team to the conference finals, to a game 6, right, where nobody expected him to go. So I have Paul George coming in number 10 on my list. And number 9, I don't think most people are going to disagree with this player as well. I got James Harden. I said all throughout the regular season that I felt that James Harden was not the best player on the Brooklyn Nets, but he was certainly the most important player. He was the engine that made that whole entire machine go. He was, of course, the best passer in the NBA this season, averaging 10.8 assists per game, but he got you 7.9 rebounds and 24.6 points per game. Obviously, he was injured in the playoffs, so I'm not going to take his playoffs numbers into consideration. Although James Harden's had some deep playoff runs, number 1. Number 2, he's a multiple All-NBA player, and he's one of the best scorers in the NBA and one of the best all-around players in the NBA. So I don't think anyone is going to argue with James Harden being number 9 on this list. And number 8 on the list, I got Anthony Davis. Yes, Anthony Davis is number 8. Now, this season, Anthony Davis had let's say he regressed this season. This season, he averaged 21.8 points per game. Let's say 22, 7.9 rebounds, and 3.1 assists. Anthony Davis is an all-NBA player, right? And when he was healthy, when he was doing his thing, he's a great player. This is why you got to also look at track record, because last season he averaged 26.1 points per game. He shot 50% from the field, 33% from the three, 84.5% from the free throw line, got you 9.3 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 1.5 steals, and 2.3 blocks. I thought he should have won the Defensive Player of the Year, and he won his championship last year, and he was big in the playoffs. So Anthony Davis is the number 8 player on my list, and I don't think most people are going to agree with him being in the top 10. Maybe some people may agree with the number, with how high or low he is, but that's why I got him at number 8. At number 7, Nikola Jokic, the Joker, the guy that gave the Clippers fits last year in the Orlando bubble. He's definitely on the list. Obviously, he's the MVP of the league. So how can the MVP not be one of the top 10 players in the NBA? I don't think anyone is going to disagree with that. Nikola Jokic for the regular season averaged 26.6 points per game, 10.8 rebounds, which is pretty good for us. I mean, which is great for a center. He's 6'11" center, and 8.3 assists as a center. Enough said. Nothing else to say. He's the MVP of the league. He is the best player on the Denver Nuggets. He was just missing his running mate in Jamal Murray. I think if he had Jamal Murray, the Denver Nuggets would have did much better in the playoffs this year. So I got Nikola Jokic on the list as the number 7th best player in the NBA. At number 6, I got Skip Bayless. I think this might be Skip Bayless' favorite player in the NBA, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is the number 6 player we have on our list here. Joel Embiid for the season, all he did was average 28.5 points per game, 10.6 rebounds, and 2.8 assists per game. I mean, that's all he did. He shot 51% from the field, 37.7% from the free throw line. I mean, from the three-point line, 86% from the free throw line as a center. And he got you 1 steal a game and 1.4 blocks. And when he's healthy, he's probably the most unstoppable force in the NBA. The problem is just sometimes his health, and obviously it was kind of a mess what happened in Philadelphia this year, but no one is going to question the fact that Joel Embiid is one of the top 5, top 10 best players in the NBA. So Joel Embiid definitely made it on this list right there. So now let's get into the top 5. Well, I know some people are going to be sitting there looking at me like, yo, son, if you mess this list up, we coming for you. So these are the top 5 players in the NBA as we see them currently and also going forward into next season. So here we go. At number 5, I got the Greek freak in Giannis Antetokounmpo. He averaged 28.1 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 5.9 assists in the regular season. He shot 57% from the field, 30% from the three-point line, which is an improvement for him. It's fine. You know, he's not a great three-point shooter. He attempts 3.6 a game. He makes 1.1, but at least he attempts it. He's a 65.8% free throw shooter, but he also got you 1.2 steals and 1.7 blocks. And no one is going to question the fact that Giannis Antetokounmpo is absolutely the driving force on this team. Obviously, he's in the playoffs. He just in the finals right now. He just had 2 back-to-back 40-point plus games, 40-point plus 10 rebound games in the finals. I think the only other player to do that since Giannis was Shaquille O'Neal. So that tells you the kind of company he's in and how dominant he's been. Now, is he the perfect player? No. Is he great at making free throws? No. He's only shooting 57% from the free throw line in the playoffs. But guess what? He's doing other things well, right? He's only shooting 18% from the three-point line this year in the playoffs, but he's still out there getting you, 29 points per game, shooting 56% from the field, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block, right? So Giannis Antetokounmpo is not a perimeter player, but right now he's the best player we got going, and he's the healthiest player. That's the best player that we currently have in the NBA right now, still playing. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is unstoppable once he makes his mind up to go and attack the basket. And I have him as a top 5 player in the NBA right now, and going into next season, he's a top 5. Now, number 4, the number 4 player in the world, according to us, is Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry. Last time we saw this man, he averaged 32 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.8 assists for the regular season. That was Stephen Curry in 63 games. He shot 48.2% from the field, just 42% from the three. You know, Stephen Curry type stuff. 91% from the free throw line. Almost had a 50-40-90 season, something he has already done before in his career, and got you 1.2 steals. He was definitely the toughest player to guard all season long. I think he led the league in scoring this year, if I'm not wrong, or he was behind Bradley Beal. Obviously, his team didn't make the playoffs, but you also got to look at his track record. 3-time champion, multiple All-NBA player. I think he made an All-NBA team this year. No one is surprised at the fact that Stephen Curry made an All-NBA team. Multiple-time champion, has a track record. So Stephen Curry is the 4th best player in the NBA. You can argue why I have him ranked at number 4, but I think no one is going to question the fact that he's in the top 5 easily in the NBA, and I don't even think it's a question, to be quite honest with you. Now we get into the best part. In the top 3, and this is when it gets a little bit contentious. So, in number 3, this is who I have in the top 3. In number 3, I have LeBron James as the number 3, as the third best player in the NBA this season and going into next season. This season, he averaged 25 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, and 7.8 assists. These are LeBron James type numbers, right? 51% from the field, 36% from the three-point line. That's the best three-point percentage he shot in the last 3 years, right? He improved his three-point shooting this year, 70% from the free throw line, pretty much what he normally shoots. And he got you 1.1 steals per game. Now, this year, however, he didn't have his running mate in Anthony Davis, so his Anthony Davis wasn't there, and his team was a little bit discombobulated. He wasn't his normal self in the playoffs, only got 23 points and this and this. Now, I thought Paul George was able to do much more than LeBron James was able to do with his team to at least, take his team a little bit further. But nevertheless, I don't think anyone is going to argue the fact that LeBron James is in the top 3 of the best players in the NBA right now. I think he's better than Giannis. I think he's better than Stephen Curry. I think he's better than all those players that I named before him, but I don't think he's better than the top 2 players that I have ahead of him. But this is just my list, but I don't think he's better than these next 2 guys. So LeBron James is number 3. At number 2, according to me, we have Kevin Durant ranked as the number 2 player in the NBA. Now, for the regular season, KD averaged 27 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, and 5.6 assists. But that's not those numbers are great. But that's not where Kevin Durant separates himself. It's with his efficiency. Kevin Durant, just think about this. This dude shot 53.7% from the field in the regular season, 45%. Oh my God. From the three-point line, 88% from the free throw line. So you almost had a 50-40-90 season like Stephen Curry. And he got you 1.3 steals. Those were KD's numbers in the regular season. In the playoffs, he took it to another level, and he showed you why he's Kevin freaking Durant, and why, if some people hear this list, these top 3 or the top 2, and you feel like Kevin Durant is the best player in the world, I have no argument with you. I think it's a toss-up. But if you pick him as the number 1 player in the NBA, I'm not going to disagree with you. Let me just say that this is just my list, right? So that's how you feel. You got no argument with me. In the playoffs, KD averaged 34.3 points per game. He shot 51% from the field again, 40% from the 3 again. He shot 87% from the free throw line. This dude, 9.3 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.6 blocks, and I think he had that 50-point game. I think it was in game 6 or something like that against the Bucks, if I'm not mistaken. Yo, cut it out. KD, come on. KD, at the very least, at the bare minimum, is the second best player in the world. At the bare minimum, according to me. He doesn't drop any. He's not number 3. He's not number 4. He's at least number 2. So I have KD at number 2 right there. So that's why I got Kevin Durant. And number 1, I got Kawhi Leonard as the best player in the NBA, according to me. Right. For the regular season, he averaged 25 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 5.2 assists. Granted, he did miss 20 games. Now, he shot 51% from the field in the regular season, KD type efficiency. He shot 40% from the 3, so he almost had a 40% from the 3, 39.8, 40%. He shot 88.5% from the free throw line, got you 6.5 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and 1.6 steals. Now, some people may say, but why would you rank Kawhi Leonard at the number 1 spot, right? Well, as I said, you got to be an all-NBA player, which all of these players are. We're going to look at your track record, and we're also going to look at your playoff performance, right? The fact of the matter is this. Kawhi Leonard, the thing that separates him from all these other players is that he's the best two-way player in basketball. He's the best. He's not the best offensive player. He's one of the best offensive players if we're talking about scoring and efficiency. Defensively, I think he sets himself apart from every other player I just put on this list. The only other players you can think of from a defensive standpoint are Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, probably, right? Who won the Defensive Player of the Year, something that Kawhi Leonard has done twice. But here's where Kawhi Leonard takes the cake for me, is his numbers in the playoffs, right? When you need him the most, he's the best player in the world. This is why I think Kawhi Leonard is the best. So in the playoffs, Think about it, he averaged 25. He went from averaging 25 points in the regular season to 30.4 points per game in the playoffs. He shot 57% from the field in the playoffs, 57.3%. That's the highest field goal percentage of all these players I just mentioned in the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard, who's a small forward, had the highest field goal percentage, and he was taking less than 20 shots per game. He shot 39% from the three, 88% from the free throw line. He got you 7.7 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 2.1 steals per game. And he had some big performances when his team needed him most, like in Game 6, I believe it was, against the Dallas Mavericks. And then in the next round, I think he had multiple 40-point performances. If we're looking at a player, if we're talking about as far as efficiency, he's the best that you got going in the business from an efficiency standpoint in the playoffs. If you're talking about somebody that you can put on the opposing team's best player and say, go lock him up, who's better? In the NBA, in the world, who is better? From these top 10 players, who's better? Who can you say, go guard this dude and he'll guard him? Who can guard from 1 to 4? Better than Kawhi. I don't think there's anyone, right? And that's the difference. That's the difference between him and KD for me. I think what Kawhi gives me on the offensive end and the defensive end, obviously KD is going to give you more, but on the defensive end, Kawhi Leonard gives me something that nobody else can give me in the NBA. I saw Kawhi Leonard, they say, go stick Luka, and you saw Luka's percentages go down a little bit, right? You saw them starting to dwindle. He didn't stop him, but he did the best job of anybody in the world. You saw them put him on Donovan Mitchell, right? Kawhi Leonard, he's one of these type of players that can just lock players up, right? Especially if you let him play man-to-man defense on you. So that's why I have him ranked number 1. Now, if you think KD's better than Kawhi, no problem. But this is our list. These are the top 10 players that we currently have ranked in the NBA this season and going into next season. Now, there are some players that could have made the list, but I don't think these guys are better than these guys on the top 10, right? There's some players out there that are outside the top 10 that some people, why didn't they in the top 10? Okay, so here are the players that I have outside the top 10. And some people are going to take offense to this. Damian Lillard. Some people are definitely going to take offense to Damian Lillard. And the first thing is this. If we're going to say Damian Lillard, who are we taking off the list? Some people will say the person that they will take off the list, most people I'm sure, is going to say Paul George. I don't think you're not taking James Harden off. You're not taking Anthony Davis off. Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You're not taking LeBron. You're not taking any of these players off. So let's just be real. I think the person they would take off is Paul George. The reason I kept Paul George on the list, given the fact that both of these guys did make all NBA teams, is that Paul George took his team further this year. Number 1 and number 2, Paul George gives you more. When Paul George is not scoring, he's still a threat. He's still a threat as a playmaker and as a defensive player. If Damian Lillard is not scoring, I'm not sure what else he can give you from the defensive side of the floor. So that's the reason I picked Paul George over Damian Lillard. If you feel like Damian Lillard should be up, then that's your list. That's why everybody has a list. So Damian Lillard is an honorable mention. Then we got Kyrie Irving. If you have Kyrie Irving that you can be in your top 10, fine. But again, who are you replacing him with? Then, of course, we got Jason Tatum, who's a super talented player, but I don't think he makes the top 10. Of course, we have Devin Booker, who I don't even think makes the top. How can you make a top? Anyway, I don't think Devin Booker's a great player. He's not a top 10 player in the NBA. So not even a top 13. You're not going to put him ahead of these guys. Maybe he's number 13. You're not going to put Devin Booker ahead of Kyrie Irving. I wouldn't do that. History doesn't say he's better than him, so I wouldn't do that. Kyrie is a much more gifted scorer. So, you're not going to hold Kyrie Irving to 10 points in an NBA Finals game. That's just not going to happen. So, you have Devin Booker and, of course, Klay Thompson. When he's healthy, he's one of the best two-way players in the NBA, one of the most efficient players in the NBA. So, if he's healthy, I think he's going to be up there. So, this is our list. This is what we got. So, what I want to know from you guys is, first of all, what do you think about the list? And secondly, what's your top 10 list? Right? And if you disagree with some of these players, put your list out there so we can see who your top 10 list is. So, that's our list, and this is what we got for you guys today. So, once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.